Good day. I found this cardboard all neatly tied up on the way down here today, so that will do for some of the beds. It's our rubbish and recycling day on a Monday, so this is why there's a proliferation of cardboard around on a Monday around us. And these are peelings which I've kept in this tub for the cedrics and the cedricetas. That's our worms who reside in a wormery at the back of the poly. And I've got my flask there because I intend to be here for a couple of hours today, because I want to start on that area over there. What a mess. What a bloody mess. Anyway, before I do that, I just want to show you this that I saw yesterday. Can you see that? It's a cabbage white butterfly going to cocoon stage. And even though I can't bear them because they eat our brassicas, I'm just going to let it be. I know some will say that's stupid, but I feel when it's got to this stage, hopefully it will come as a butterfly and then fly off somewhere else. But yeah, I did cover it after I sorted the tomato bed yesterday. I did notice this and uncovered it and then covered it again, but clearly it's I didn't cover it very well because the net has blown off. It's rather too large a net. It would be great to have some of those sort of individual nets that slip over, but I don't. So yeah, I'm just going to cover it with this again. So this area, particularly this bed here, I've been avoiding. I've been turning my back on it and not doing the work that needs to be done. But the work needs to be done, so I'm going to start on it at least today. Down here, bane of my life, look at all this Cinquefoil. Just horrendous stuff. And this is what I mean when you look at the path here. You can see the Cinquefoil leaf in the grass. It's really taking over. Look at that. That's virtually all Cinquefoil. And I do need to do something about that. I try and take the tendrils up. These tendrils here, where every node that they sit on the ground will root. And these can go for meters. As I've said before, it's a sort of wild strawberry. Oh. But unlike a strawberry runner, where they'll only root at a few as it goes along the ground, this will root at every single step. So if you've got 3 meters of this, you can have a new plant forming every 10 centimeters. So that would be 30 new plants off a 3 meter length. Madness. Anyway, that's not what I'm doing today. The sun has come out, as you can see from my shadow. I think it's going to be a bits and bobs type of day. I'm just going to get on and do this. An hour and a bit later, and it's looking a little tidier. At least we can see the edges of the bed now. I have concentrated on getting out things like dandelions and the clover that is prevalent on site here, and annual weeds and perennial weeds. There's still, I haven't really, as you can see there with the Cinquefoil, if I come over here maybe you can see better. Cinquefoil there, bindweed. So yeah, I haven't concentrated hugely on the Cinquefoil and the bindweed, which may sound odd, But basically I wanted to clear the decks of every other type of weed I could find, so that I could clearly see where weed was taking hold. So if we come over here, we can see a mat of this is Cinquefoil I'm holding up, and you can see here it actually comes from over there. In fact, look, that's the mother plant there. That will go down. Oh, let's get that out of the way. This here is the mother plant. That will go down about, oh, it's got red ants around it, about 18 inches with a taproot, and you can see the runners come out everywhere. You can see that one is going over there. If we follow this one, it split here and started going down this route. It's rooted itself here. It's rooted up here. This one here continues. It's rooted itself here. Then it continues. And that's why Cinquefoil is such a tenacious perennial weed. It will just root itself. And therefore what I need to do, let me just squat down, be more comfortable. What I need to do is follow each of these tendrils and dig out that root as much as I can. Because if I don't dig it out, if I just pull it and I leave a root that is already rooted in, that root will just come back. So yeah, quite a big job to do. But you know what, I'm a bit shattered now. I've been at this, I think, only about an hour and a half. But as I say, at least we can see the edges of the bed now. I'm leaving this gorgeous evening primrose in and hoping to save seeds from it. If I wasn't going to be saving seeds, I would be taking it out. But at least I'm glad to have started work on this bed. Making inroads, as my mum would say. Getting the job done, as my dad would say. I have to say I am now shattered. I think I've been at that, oh, the door is shut, an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. What is the time now? I think it's about 11:30. I got down here about 9:30. I reckon I've been doing it an hour and a half. And with the tomato bed having been done yesterday on Sunday with the last segment of a week at the plot, and that was quite a job, doing this today and the week that I've got ahead, which is quite busy, yeah, I think I've done enough for today. Might do a little bit of weeding just of the lettuce bed here in the poly, because I must keep on top of my weeding, because if I don't, that's what happens. Maybe not quite so much in the poly, but certainly outside. So yeah, keep on top of your weeding. Do that. Right, I'm pouring myself a cup of tea and just rehydrating with that a bit. Oh, that's lovely. That is absolutely lovely. Cup of tea when you're shattered and you're out of the sun is always rather lovely. Right, I'm going to leave it there for this segment, this Monday segment and first segment of a week at the plot, and I'll see you at some point later in the week. Bye. Good day. I wanted to make more inroad into this bed today, concentrating really solely on the Cinquefoil. If we come over here, you can most probably see this. This is a sort of mother root, if you like. This started off as a little sort of section like that. Sorry, like that. And then over years of not being pulled, that will most probably go down about 1.5 foot to 2 foot in total. So no way I'm going to pull that out by hand. If I did, I'd leave some root in the bottom. So I'm going to be getting a fork and taking that out. In fact, let me have a go at that now. There's plenty of red ants around here as well. Not bindweed. See, this is the other thing. Some of them travel underground. Anyway. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Only got about a foot. Oh well, that'll be up in a year or so. Maybe we'll leave the hole like that and try and dig it out another day. Most of this is Cinquefoil in here, very clear Cinquefoil, 5 leaves, little bit of couch grass as well. This is the large root that we just pulled out, and this was attached here to a rather long bit. I have said to you that these can travel meters and meters, and now I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. This here is the end that other one went into, and it split off and came a bit this way, and then here you can see this nodule has rooted incredibly well. Various other places it's touched the ground and branched off. I know you can't see that clearly on the grass, but then we come along here, this continues. This just broke off a minute ago. Then it comes here onto our path, continues, all bits rooting as we go, and then it branches off here and here to this up here. Then it carries on along the path, it's thinning out a bit now, just down to one thing which broke off when I was doing it here. And then we come along and look, that's the end of the actual weed. So effectively, this is the end, and it's travelled in that bed all this way. And this is sort of where the big root was, but over in the bed over there, obviously. So this bed is 2.4 meters, this bed is 2.4 meters. The end here is just a bit beyond the bed, It's sort of here. There's the edge of the bed, it's sort of here. So 2.4, 2.8, 2.4, 2.4, 4.8 meters. That big Cinquefoil root has travelled. Now it may have been sort of intertwined and not been a full 4.8 meters. Maybe it was over 3.5 meters, but you can see how there's hundreds in this line. There's hundreds of nodes that can root and themselves put out new shoots. So that's why Cinquefoil is the bane of my life. Hey ho. Right, well, at least I'm glad to have done that bit today. I'll see you along in a few days' time, where we'll most probably be doing something a little bit different. See you then. Bye. Good day on what is a rather gorgeous Sunday morning. We've had weather warnings of thunderstorms for today from 3 AM through to 9 PM. And I have to say, at the moment, it's just lovely weather. It really is. It feels quite humid, especially in here, because I had the door closed overnight. So any moisture from the watering of the lettuce and the endive here has been sort of kept within the polytunnel. So it does feel quite humid, but it's gloriously quiet. I think it's about 9 o'clock. Most probably chicken people have been down and, you know, done their things, but there's hardly anyone here. I heard a noise in the distant corner of the site, so I think someone is down there. And I got to my shed and there's some calendula seeds. A new plot holder, somebody who came into the paddock, did really well there in their first few months, and then did a swap with somebody who had a half plot. She has done incredibly well on her plot this year and worked really hard. Got some good harvests, had quite a lot eaten, as all of us have. And she had some lovely calendula, pale yellow calendula like Vivi had. And I said, oh, they're absolutely gorgeous. And that day she gave me a big bunch of flowers and to take home, and they were on the windowsill for a week or so. And then she said, when they're ready to set seed, I'll save you some seed. So there we are. That's rather lovely. So I've got some pale yellow, very pale yellow, but quite vibrant, from Vivi, and then these which are sort of quite a pale creamy yellow from our plot neighbour 2 over. So that's absolutely lovely. Yesterday I was down and I got on with a job, and I just thought I would show you what I did yesterday. I'm down here today to continue a job that I did yesterday, and that's sowing some Cimi di Rapa. So this is Broccoli Raab in the UK. It's quite a fast growing broccoli. It usually sets within 60 days. It's quite spindly. It's sort of like very thin purple sprouting broccoli, apart from the fact it's generally creamy coloured or yellow coloured, and you eat it. It's a bit like, I suppose, when our brassicas go to seed, you get the shoots that you can eat. It's a bit like that, but it's grown particularly or totally for the shoot, if you like. And the reason that I got some seed is because I was reading Sophie Grigson's Exploding Tomatoes and Other Stories about her time now living in Puglia, and it mentioned this vegetable and how it's quite prized down in Puglia. And I thought, oh yes, I grew that a few years ago. I think it was, well, quite a few. I think it was 2018, 2019. but it likes cooler months and cooler weather, and I think I sowed it in May, June, and it bolted. It went to flower within about 6 inches in the modules. So what I did yesterday is I sowed this seed thinly in one of our bare beds here. So what I did is I gave it quite a deep hoe with my hoe, and I did that all over the bed. That was loosening the soil down to about sort of 4-6 inches, something like that. And then I raked it level to make sure that it was as level as could be. There were quite a few stones there, but I've just left those in. Then I used my hoe to make 2 rows. So I have the hoe at an angle and dragged it across the length of the bed, maybe a foot on either side of the center of the bed, and into those drills, because that's what those are, drills, sowing drills, I then thinly sowed the seed, which is a very, very fine brassica seed. And after I'd done that, I covered them up using the hoe again, just pulling the soil that had been turfed up. I pulled that soil back over into the drill and then just tapped it down a little bit by dragging the hoe across and smoothing that surface a little bit. And then I gave it all a watering, because it's really important, particularly when we've had such drying winds here. It's really important to water after any sowing, but I will continue watering each day for the coming week for sure, because we have such drying days at the moment with drying winds. And then after about 15 minutes I gave it another really good water. So it had 2 waters yesterday and will have 1 relatively shortly when I have done the job that I'm doing today. And it's continuing, as I say, the Cimi di Rapa sowing. So I'm going to use modules. Let me just drag one out. I'm going to use modules. You've seen me do this before. I'm going to fill them up with our compost, which is a mixture of our multi-purpose compost and our own perennial weed compost bin. And I'm going to sow just a few, maybe 3 or 4 in each of these cells, and then just cover up with another bit of compost so that the seeds are about 1/2 inch deep. And then I'm going to give them a good water. And I'm also going to do that with these garlic kale, which I mentioned about last week. These I think are most probably going to be staying in the modules to use as cut and come again leaves if they do well, where the Cimi di Rapa, I will use that either in a spare bed that we've got here, or if the germination is poor or the germination is good and gets eaten by slugs, I'll grow these on in the modules and then transplant them into that bed. And what I've also done, I was thinking the other day when I was putting nets on, our beds are 1.2 meters wide, and I have really always tried to get as much space in there as possible. And even with brassicas, I put 3 rows in, and I've decided that's too much. That's sort of too heavy, because by the time you put your nets on, particularly if they're the blue, you know, with the blue hoops and the big nets, your ones at the edges are already touching those nets. And of course anything like cabbage white can lay eggs through that netting, unless it's Enviromesh, which we don't have. Well, we do have some now, but we don't have a lot. So if we use the scaff netting, they can lay their eggs through that scaff netting. So yeah, I've decided, like with the Cimi di Rapa there, I've done 2 rows within the 1.2 meters, and that's what I'm going to do next year for next year's growing season for our brassicas. When it comes to things like beetroot, you know, you'll easily get 4, 5, 6 rows into 1.2 meters and multi-sown modules. So it's, you know, it is per vegetable, if you like, what you're growing. What you're growing will determine how many rows you would get in any of your beds. course, if your beds are narrower like the ones in front of us here, I would most probably still try and get 2 rows of brassicas in there, but I would do them at a zigzag. So I do them sort of further in and at a zigzag so that the netting can sort of fit over them properly. From the same company, this is Viridis Hortus. I got 2 lots of broad beans as well, because I'm going to be sowing broad beans soon. So yeah, anyway, there we are. I'm just going to show you what I've got on the bench here, mainly to show you an issue that I've got with the bench. When I put the bench in, you may know in the poly here, I've got slab. In fact, let me just show you. It's a bit of a mess and it needs clearing out, but I'm just going to show you what I've got. So here is our bench. Really needs a good tidy, which I will do another day. But my issue is that when I put the bench in, you can see that the feet here are on the slabs, but the feet at the back, if I go down here, you can see that that maybe is sand. So I didn't have slabs to go right to the back. And what's happened over the years is that the legs either side have sunk at the back. These, of course, have stayed in the same place. And I've had to put this batten here to level off my trays. But even with the batten here now, water, as you can see, still sits at the back of trays. So what I'm going to be doing, and I'm looking at that batten there, this is not going to be thick enough. I want to put wood underneath the legs there and there, because you can see there's 2 sets of legs, one either end, to lift the back up so that it doesn't slope that way. So that's a job for me to do in the coming weeks for sure. I do have some wood thicker than this that now I've seen that bit of wood there, I think will be more sensible to use. Yeah. Another job, and I'm going to do it simply because it's annoying me, is taking this buddleia back and maybe taking these new growths of buddleia here back as well, simply because they're all getting in my way. This is a really dark buddleia, as you know, well, pretty dark buddleia, and yeah, I'm going to take it down to about 1 foot from the ground and take some of those out. So I'm going to give it a really good refresh, because I want to use this bed to put wildflowers in over the winter. So yeah, this is going to be a flower bed next year, and this is where I'm going to put 2 rows of broad beans in for this year. Well, I mean over winter broad beans for next growing year. They'll go in about October. I did weed this a little bit yesterday. There's lots of forget-me-nots growing here, but what I did also notice, look, we've got a chard growing. Do you remember we sowed chard months ago and I thought they'd all been eaten? There's one growing there, there's one growing there, and there's one growing there. So we've got 3 chard. But yes, this needs a further weed. I only weeded sort of this area and left the what I've just said in, forget-me-nots in, because I think I'm going to move some of those elsewhere. Anyway, there we are. Jobs. A few more jobs to add to the very long list. Anyway, right, I'm going to go now, and we'll leave a week at the plot here for this week. If you watch on Planet Vegetaria, there'll be segments as I go through next week of a week at the plot. If you watch on YouTube, there'll be another full upload in a week's time. And we have tipped over from our summer to our autumn now. It's the 1st of September, which is the start of meteorological autumn. Of course, down under, that has moved from winter into spring. So your growing season is just sort of kicking off, which is all quite exciting. And there was something that I haven't done so far. It's the 1st of September, I haven't turned the calendar. Why haven't I turned the calendar? I thought I'd leave it till the end segment, because you know what, I'm not turning the calendar only from August to September. I'm turning it from July to August, and then from August to September. I didn't turn the calendar throughout the whole of August. Isn't that insane? So just as well I'm getting in early and doing it on the 1st of September today. So I'm going to leave you with that at the end as the sort of run out bit of footage. Whatever is happening in your garden, your growing space or your allotment, whether like us you're seeing autumn sort of trundling in with some speed despite the fact there's sun and warmth. If you're down under and you're seeing your spring coming into life, I hope that you're going to enjoy the coming week and months. And remember, in the UK, there's work to do on the allotment throughout the 52 weeks of the year, which is what a week at the plot shows. So, you know, let's not all be, well, I'm not, but let's not be fair weather gardeners where we do from Easter to like the middle of September when kids go back. Let's look at preparing the site for the coming year. Even if preparing the site for the coming year, as I did very well last year, doesn't set us in great stead for the growing year. Right, I'm going to go. I will see you again very soon for more uploads and segments on Planet Vegetaria of A Week at the Plot. See you very soon. Bye and happy growing.